Welcome to another video here on this Esoteric Circle YouTube channel. Pete Haskins along with Wanda down here at a beautiful Menominee River here in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. And on an October morning, a Friday, I'm taking a day off to spend with my in-laws who are visiting from Indiana, and about ready to go out for breakfast, and just thought I'd come down here and share with you some more stuff from Mystic in the Graveyard, which is my original book about Charles Bojidar Ashanin. And this is a reading here that I'm going to take from it regarding a television interview that Ted Nottingham had with him called Turning Toward the Light. That is on my channel here. But so enjoy wherever you're at on your journey. Blessings to you. It's great having you here. Charles Ashanin made an enormous impact on my life, and I to this day feel connected with him, and sharing him with you is one of my my main goals of this channel. And he was an amazingly brave man who escaped communist Yugoslavia and was on the hit list by Tito and his thugs, and escaped into Italy, 1944. Made it through many checkpoints, barely missing being captured by the Nazis a couple of times. Made it into Italy. The Episcopalians, the Anglicans, were a huge part of scooping him up along with other people and bringing him to England, and really gathering people up as these exiles began to pour out of Europe, and the Orthodox world especially, as the Soviet Union began to just envelop Eastern Europe. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this this idea of friendship and relationship that we have in the midst of this dying civilization that we are living in. We're here to help prop it up, aren't we? We are here to help give hope to it. So I want to read this passage here, which talks about a television interview that Ted Nottingham, many of you are familiar with our friend Ted. So let me go ahead and read this. By the way, this interview is on my channel here. Soon after returning from this pilgrimage that he took to the Soviet Union in the late 80s, he sat down for a television interview with his dear friend Ted Nottingham. This interview is entitled Turning Toward the Light. Charles tells the story of meeting a Russian journalist at a reception at Northwood Christian Church for Russian Christians involved in the Peace March. The journalist asked Charles, quote, "What kind of God is their God?" meaning American Christians. Charles replied, "Well, our God is a good God. He is an ethical God who demands that certain norms be observed. I think you already know what those are. It is wonderful to know that we worship a good God who is known for his goodness. So we strive to be good because we worship a good God. We may not be individually good, but all of us want to be good." He goes on to say that the God of the Orthodox is also a good God, yet this is not God's chief characteristic to which humans relate. For Charles, God's chief characteristic is that of holiness. The way in which we relate is adoration. Russian churches, for instance, reveal this adoration in their gold domes, even though they are a poor country. Charles goes on to say in this interview, what is adoration? Adoration is leaving yourself to the glorious result without any conditions. Americans are a rationalistic people who are not prepared to go that far. American Christianity, or American Christians rather, say to God, we want to have covenant with you. We want to honor you. We want to do your will. As Bishop Anthony Bloom said, I always pray, God, ask anything of me, but not the cross. Then Charles makes the following statement. You cannot have relationship with anyone without imposing upon your own life a demand of self-sacrifice. True union with God expresses itself most eloquently in the crucifixion. For Charles, the crucifixion is not an imposed event by a distant God. Rather, it is a revelation of the sacrificial love of God on our behalf and our response to him in the same kind of attitude. He continues in this interview. I learned this by reading the works of Maximus the Confessor and other ancient Christian mystics. They say that we human beings are the union of physical matter and the divine spirit. Thus, we are priests to the universe. We are intercessors between the universe and God. By virtue of our physical nature and by virtue of the fact that God's Spirit lives within us, we are able to bring nature to God and able to bring God to nature. In an unrestricted sense, then, we enter into the process of creation and into the life of the divine. Ted Nottingham poses the question. That unrestricted entrance is what the Orthodox call theosis, or divinization. And Charles responds, theosis refers to this process, this christique, whereby we are called into becoming the sons and daughters of God through Jesus Christ. I might add a personal note. 4 years ago, I had open heart surgery and found myself on the boundary between life and death. Yet being on that boundary, I was aware of a dimension of being that I earnestly sought. I wanted to punch through the boundary, but something was pulling me back to earthly existence. I interpreted this to be the prayers of my friends drawing me back. That experience of being on the boundary makes me aware of a transcendent ocean of love, of goodness, of truth that is behind us in our pilgrimage, assisting us to embody within our earthly life enough of that vision to transform this existence into its likeness. And then he ends here. What follows next in the interview is the heart of the theology of Charles Bojidar Ashanin, I write. This passage is proof of his Christian humanism. And I'll end with this. This is a quote from Charles. This is my hope for the world. Let us use our talents to celebrate and testify to that vision. The artist should paint images. The poet should compose poetry. The musician should make music to celebrate this vision. Each of us, individually in our earthly life, should share with each other sacramentally something of that vision to enable each other's life by the gift which he has given to each one of us. We cannot receive that gift and keep it to ourselves. We must share it with each other. This is the Eucharist of the self-sacrificial love of God on behalf of creation, and especially of us human beings whom he loves. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying to this point in the video. And here's the payoff, right? In the midst of this chaos, in the midst of all this confusion, intentional chaos, right? This entropy is a law that is coming down on us, and we're surprised that it's happening, but it is the way of this earth, right? This entropy, this chaos. It's built into this place, folks. It's built in. It's part of it. In the midst of this, we are called to share each other, to share with one another this image that we have of God within us, sharing it through our poetry, through our music, through our painting, through our relationships. Let's not be afraid. Let's not let fear guide us in any way. Let's not fall for the trap of being anxious and nervous about this crazy time that we're living in. Let's go into it. Let's not stay in the harbor and put anchor down and wait for the storm to just batter us into bits. Let's head out into the storm, head straight into that hurricane, straight into the waves, and not be afraid to share ourselves with one another, even in the midst of this chaos. Don't be afraid. Help prop up this dying civilization by heading into it and sharing with one another the image of God that is within us, and not being afraid. Blessings to you wherever you are at. Wherever you are at on your journey, blessings to you. Stay in touch.